Hey, how you doing? This is an exciting day. This is Bob Gumbs here with the Concerned Forum. And today, this is going to be a unique show. Today, I have two lovely ladies here who are representing Senator Bernie Sanders, who's running for president. We have Lori Merril, and we have
Jackie Sheeler.
That's Jackie Sheeler. That's my Jackie right here. And what this is about, as you know, we have the Democratic debate coming up Tuesday. And this is the opportunity that these folks have been waiting for to talk about Bernie Sanders and why he should win the nomination, the Democratic nomination for president, and why he should go on to be president. Now, what we have here right now, we have the voice here in New York of the young and the working class. And I have to admit, for the sake of transparency, that, and I can do this because this is public access, I myself am a big supporter of Senator Bernie Sanders. And not to take up too much time here, we have a very interesting video by the group ISA, and it's called Feel the Burn. Here we go.
Feel the burn, 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 feel the burn. Feel the burn, 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 feel the burn. Feel the burn, feel the burn, feel the burn, feel the burn, feel the burn. It's a party around the world, a new candidate. Hurry up to the polls, vote for Bernie, don't be late. Watch us keep it moving, speaking from state to state. Feel the burn, it's our turn, I think we earn a better way. Vote for Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, for president. Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, for president. I vote for a man that follows behind his own beliefs and won't back down from a question when he speaks. That I take on our racism in these streets, making billionaires bring jobs from overseas, making billionaires pay taxes on currency. Cause our children need our help, it's an emergency. Plant and see, watch it grow, but it takes dedication. I can see down that road, we get free education. This is the Bernie nation, but it's gonna take a nation to put this in rotation. Then we can see inflation. Thank you, congratulations. First step to this dream, vote for Bernie Sanders for 2016. It's a party around the world, a new candidate. Hurry up to the polls, vote for Bernie, don't be late. Watch us keep it moving, speaking from state to state. Feel the burn, it's our turn, I think we earn a better way. Vote for Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, for president.
We've been playing this at our morning tabling events in Morningside, and people are loving it. We're dancing and giving out flyers, and it rocks.
Bernie Sanders for the people, party not for the wealthy. Being funded by big money, the man won't accept it. Negative ads by his campaign is not the method. This is a movement with a message ready for debate. Not a moderate, but progressive, moving at a pace. Equal pay for all women, raise the minimum wage. If you work 40 hours a week, then you should get paid. Let's help the veterans, bless the troops at war. They make it home, let's show them what they're fighting for. I know I love my country, the American dream. Vote for Bernie Sanders 2016. Party around the world, a new candidate. Hurry up to the polls, vote for Bernie, don't be late. Watch us keep it moving, speaking from state to state. Feel the burn, it's our turn, I think we earn a better way. Vote for Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, for president. Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, for president. Yeah, this Mr. ISA, Mr. Moving Like Bernie. I approve this message. Be active. Go vote. Let your voice be heard. So awesome.
I love that
folks.
video.
Now
I
that you've
love
seen the video, this is what young America, I hate to use the term millennials, but I'll go ahead and use it for the sake of easy identification. Millennials, working class people, elderly people, college people, the real America. That's how they feel about Bernie Sanders. And that's why we want Bernie to be our nominee for president, to run for president against whatever psychotic madman the Republican, or mad woman that the Republicans try to cook up. Now, my first question to my honored guest here. What is it that, and this is going to be kind of a curve, what do you guys think of Hillary Clinton? See how I did that, right? From this, well, just tell me
Hillary
what you
Clinton
think.
has her good qualities.
Okay.
I wouldn't object to her being on the Supreme Court, for example, because while she's on the Supreme Court, that's the end of campaigning and needing money. And that's where she gets in trouble. And that's where a lot of people get in trouble, in fairness. But quite frankly, after all her years in politics and playing second fiddle to Bill, and then her deal with Obama to be Secretary of State, we don't know the baggage that she has. We don't know the baggage that Bill has. We don't know who owes what to who, or who promised what. Oh, when I'm president, because it's taken for granted that Hillary's our next president, right, by a lot of people. Oh, when I'm president, your country will have this, or your corporation will have that. The one thing we do know, she's totally pro-corporation. There was a time when that was not completely disgusting.
Right.
But that time was over in 2009. Like we all woke up with the financial collapse.
That
And the
collapse.
collapse came courtesy of many of Hillary's biggest donors.
Yeah.
So there's no way that I trust her. I would not vote for her if hers was the only name on the ballot. And it's no disrespect to Hillary. Like I said, if President Sanders wants to put her on the Supreme Court, I'm all for it. You know,
Right.
that'd be great because she's
Yeah.
she's a legal scholar, and she is a feminist in her own way. I trust her on many issues, but I do not
Yeah.
trust her to run this country or even be able to be in charge of the White House while Bill Clinton is running amok inside there. And I don't know why nobody's talking about this. That's the biggest piece of baggage that she has, is her philandering husband,
Okay.
the man who repealed Glass-Steagall
Yes.
and threw us all into the drink.
Yeah.
Lori, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think the real bottom line is that if you're running for president and if you're accepting donations from, multi-billion-dollar corporations, then you are beholden to them, and they are your constituents. And if you're like Bernie Sanders and your money is coming from a grassroots movement, then that's who you're beholden to.
Are you in school now?
No, I'm not. I graduated a couple years ago.
Okay. What school did you go to, by the way?
Goucher College in Baltimore.
Okay. Oh, I know Baltimore. I know Goucher College, yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from New York. And
I got you. Now, let me ask you this. What do you folks think of the conservatives and their attempt not only to take over the Republican Party, but for what it looks like, what they're planning to do is to take over our government,
Yeah.
essentially. How does that make you feel?
I mean, honestly, to me, I think it gets to the core of, it really scares me, and to me, it gets to the core of, American identity. When I think about, what it means, and this might sound cheesy, but when I think about what it means to me to be an American, I think democracy is such an important part of that. And the fact that, we don't always think about it, but, we are so lucky to live in a democracy where we're allowed to say what we want on this, show, that we're allowed to, talk about our political ideals. And the idea that our democracy is really at stake. I mean, it's really in danger. Our entire government is being kind of co-opted and
Not
corporatized.
kind of. It's entirely
It is,
co-opted.
yeah.
It's
You feel we're
entirely
being
co-opted by the money.
co-opted. You feel we're being co-opted.
I know it. I don't feel it. These
Okay.
are facts. I mean, you look at the impact of. Alec, are you familiar with the
I've heard that.
Administrative,
Yeah.
Legislative Exchange Council, whatever
Yeah.
So Alec, they were writing legislation and just handing it to
Right.
GOP senators that were beholden to them because of their big donations, that the lobbyists had made. And this legislation was being presented on the floor of the Senate, and it was totally pro-business with no regard to people. We're talking about legislation to reduce the effectiveness of the FDA, for example, so that they can't do their testing, or legislation to protect the fracking companies. You think about this with fracking, they do not have to disclose what chemicals they are pushing into your water supply.
Right.
Now, come on, are you kidding me? And this is ALEC legislation put through on behalf of them by the GOP. So to say that that we might be co-opted, the GOP is already thoroughly co-opted. I don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of crazy people in a rowboat screaming about abortions when nobody's even pregnant. I mean, that's like what the GOP.
Yeah.
That's where they're at now, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame. So
very
you have
good.
their front runner for speaker now had to step down because he's having a flaming affair. And how many times have we heard that from the Republicans? And you know what? Republicans have your affairs. I want you to have sex. I want you to have great sex. I want you to have sex with
Have
everybody
great
that you
sex,
want to have sex with.
DOP.
But I want you to stop telling women what to do with their bodies. If one of your little mistresses ends up pregnant on a lunch hour assignation, I bet you'd be the first one to drive her to the abortion clinic, all the while trying to pass laws against us to not have those same services. Stop it.
Yeah.
We know you don't really care about this. We know it's a game. We know you don't lay up at night thinking about whether or not women are having abortions. You lay up at night counting your money, come on, like the rest of the GOP. So give it a rest.
You know, this is what I love about Jackie, because to me, she's like the voice of New York. She's the voice of the working class. And the problem that we're having in this country and in this city is that not enough times are people like her heard from. Now, what Laurie said about the idea of democracy, believe it or not, I'm born and raised right here in the projects, right here in Harlem, here in New York City. But you know, I gave about 28 years of my adult life to the military. Army, Navy, Navy Reserve, and Army Reserve. And I myself, and this is the main reason why I'm for Bernie, come hell or high water, is because I put my tail on the line, and I'm partially disabled now due to military service. And I get angry as hell when I hear people such as Mr. Trump, who in some ways he is a very respectable person, but in other ways he's lacking in certain qualities. And the same thing with I call him the black neurosurgeon. That's what he's supposed to be. But after listening to him for the last couple of months, I would be very leery of putting what little brains I have left in his hands, quite frankly. And listening to people like that, listening to people in the caucus there, the conservative caucus in the Republican Party there in Congress, and how they are willing to stab any potential Speaker of the House, willing to stab him in the head if he even talks about compromise. And I say, this is not what I fought for. This is not what men and women who go overseas in the defense of this country, this is not part of the program. This is not part of the deal. And that's why I support Bernie Sanders. Okay.
You know,
now,
Bob, you said,
yeah.
can I make a comment on something you said earlier? You were talking about the neurosurgeon, so I'm going to say the name, Ben Carson.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, we're allowed to say names, right?
Yeah,
It's
we got
public
to.
TV.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not, this is not funded. Nobody's getting paid.
Yeah.
God knows nobody's getting paid.
Got that right.
So here we have Bob Gumbs talking about why Ben Carson, another black man, is a totally unacceptable candidate. And to me, that's my answer to all the women who ask me, well, don't we need a woman in the White House? We need the right woman in the White House, the same way we need the right black man in the White House. And Bob Gumbs right here just told you that Ben Carson ain't the right one. And I'm going to tell you, Carly Fiorina ain't the right woman, and neither is Hillary Clinton. From me, you don't get extra points for your ovaries. I never got extra points for mine. I never got a promotion because I had ovaries. As a matter of fact, I make 78 cents on the dollar. Well, when I'm working, which I'm not because I'm a boomer, but we won't even go there. But, this woman in the White House nonsense, the time will come. Listen, the fact that a black man became president before a woman tells you everything you need to know about women's place in American society. We are the ultimate second-class citizen, even though our white privilege may at times give us a pass when we're dealing in certain situations. We know this, we understand this, and none of that is enough to make us vote for Hillary just because she's a woman. That's not enough to bring to the table. It simply isn't.
What about when people approach you with the fact that, oh, well, Hillary is so experienced, wouldn't you rather have her there when the phone rings in the White House bedroom at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Hell no! No, because the first thing she'll do is call the pollsters and see what her answer should be. Because she don't have an answer. She got no moral core. She's got no, you know what I mean? There's no center there. Her center is whatever they told her it should be that day. And I'm sorry, I understand in politics, I mean, like that's necessary. It's a $1 million, $1 billion game a lot of people play. You got to play it well to win. I get it. That's not who I want answering the phone. I want Bernie Sanders answering that phone, a man who listens to his brain, history, and his constituents. I am his constituent. Laura is his constituent. You are his constituent. None of us are Hillary's constituents, nor Carly Fiorina's. Carly Fiorina has the corporate constituents, and obviously she's got a few of them anyway. I mean, the woman is just so, it's mind-boggling that she's even on the ballot, but whatever. You know, Republicans, lots of luck to you. Wake up soon. Republicans for Bernie. There's plenty of groups. Go find them. Yeah. But, you know, like it's not. When people ask me that, when I'm out tabling, and they say to me, oh, isn't it time to put a woman in the White House? I say to them, well, isn't it time to put a Jew from Brooklyn in the White House? That's what I think.
Works for me.
More radical choice.
Works for me. Definitely does work for me. But because, now, I think people need to understand who are listening and looking at us, we're not saying that we don't support Hillary because of the fact that she might make compromise. The way Bernie's people feel, people who support Bernie feel, we understand that in government, inside government, there are compromises that have to be made because we all don't think the same. But there's a difference between congressmen from Pennsylvania compromising with a congressman from Texas over a piece of legislation, as opposed to Mr. Nebulous corporate big dog picking up the phone and saying, hey, I donated $1 zillion to your campaign. Now, this is what we in this industry, i.e. like the oil industry, this is what we want you to do. Or this is how we feel would best benefit our industry.
Or more often what they do is say, this is unacceptable. And they get a rider thrown onto the bill to kill the part that they don't like, or to add on like a little piece of pork. You know how pork was the big conversation in 2008 with Sarah Palin and her nonsense.
Right.
But that's a reality of the way our really broken Congress operates. So any congressperson can put an amendment to any bill at any time, and very often those amendments have absolutely nothing to do with the bill. Like they'll put on a rider that for mandatory ultrasounds before abortions to a clean water bill. So that has nothing to do with anything. And they do this to like either for their constituents, like in the case of the abortion, like to pandering to the right-wing Christians in the backwaters who still think that, you know, daddy has to say what you can do with your body, or whether they're pandering to the corporations.
Right. Well, I will tell you, and people need to really hear this because I have been very disturbed lately about how the conservatives, and I got a point to make about that also that's very relevant, but let me hit this first because I think it's even more important. As a man who is a father, and I'm a widower, by the way, and a person who was a grandfather. Don't worry, folks, I'm not that old.
Old as hell, forget about it.
But I understand the sacredness of human life. You know, I was baptized Catholic, I was raised Catholic, I had a Catholic education, and I understand about the sanctity of life. I understand that sanctity pertains also to prisoners on what we have called death row. It pertains to the quality of life for children in the inner city and in Appalachia. It's a whole circle of life thing. To try and make the abortion issue a litmus test as to whether or not a person respects life or believes in the sanctity of life, I believe that's wrong, because a woman's body, that's something that in this country we've come to believe that it works best when a woman has an opportunity to discuss that, A, if she can, with her parent, guardian, or with her lover, or with her friend. and
Or with
most-
no one.
Or with
my
no
body,
one,
my choice. I don't have
or
to talk to anybody, right?
with her
Bob?
doctor. Or, as my colleague says, with herself. But it's a personal decision. And as a Democrat, as a human being, as a child that was born and raised in what was supposed to be a democracy, a democratic republic, I am very leery of people thinking that they have the right to march into bedrooms, to march into bathrooms, to march into hospitals and clinics, and tell women that they have to carry the term. Everyone's case is different. One of the purposes of this country is to be a place where we respect the rights of the individual. And I think that when we start trying to mandate how women are supposed to handle their pregnancies, everybody likes to throw around the term of Nazis, okay? Well, I will tell you something. When you start trying to mandate how women handle their bodies, you're coming very damn close to what the Nazis had set up. Because if I can make you carry to term, then that means that I also have the power and the right to not allow you to carry
Which
to term.
is, you're talking about,
Yeah.
corporal punishment. You're talking about the death sentence as well.
Yeah.
Right? So on the one hand, it's the sanctity of life in terms of controlling women. But
Right.
when it comes to other areas of the sanctity of life, that's not even on the table. As you said, these people on death row or in isolation for decades, not even years, not even
Yes,
months, it's decades.
yes.
That's not life. That's worse than death.
Yes.
Right? And also, for me, whatever other considerations there may be, as far as I'm concerned, and this may be a radical opinion, but I will say that my life has made it firm. If you are not a person who ever has or ever could miss a period, you ain't got no say on abortion. Done. It's not up to men. It's up to us. You guys have no idea. I shouldn't say you guys. There are many compassionate, understanding men. But I will say that there is no man on this planet that understands the horror of an unplanned, unexpected pregnancy in the middle of your life, which is unable to accommodate it. None of you know that. None of you have lived it. You need to let us decide and back off.
And see, that's the purpose. Many people might not like me saying this, but that's the purpose of this country. That's Jackie's opinion. That's Jackie's body. She has a right to deal with that, how she sees fit. And I say it again, when we start playing around with such deep, heavy personal issues like that, okay, we're getting real close. We're getting real close to a certain edge that I am very, and I don't frighten too easily, but that, what these guys are doing, it's really starting to frighten me. And the other point that I was going to make, let's get something straight here. I grew up in this city. I grew up in Harlem. My dad was the district leader in West Harlem for the Republican Party back in the late 50s and early 60s. When I was a kid, I used to get bored attending Republican conventions. I became a Democrat for the most part, but I will tell you something. There were some great people in what used to be the Republican Party. People like Eisenhower, people like Dirksen, and even though I disagree with him about a lot of things, people like Bob Dole, Jack Kemp. But these bunch of psychopaths and former Republicans who still choose to associate with what this party has come to stand for, have no fear. And you Republicans for Bernie, have no fear, because what we're witnessing here, this is not the Republican Party. This, to me, puts me in mind of an embryonic, I don't want to use the term Nazi because I'm not going to beat that to death.
It's fascism. Use that one.
Jackie says fascism. I'm pretty close to that opinion myself. But I will say it's an embryonic nationalist movement, okay, based upon ethnic heritage and, how should I say, their corporate benevolence. Because you have a lot of big, very super wealthy people supporting what is now calling itself the Republican Party. These guys are not Republicans. And those decent folks who are still Republicans, they are, as far as I'm concerned, they got two things to look at. They're either clinging to a dream or they need to rouse themselves and they need to take their party back. Mm-hmm. Now, Laura, how do you feel about it, Laura?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing that a lot of Republican constituents are fleeing the party because it's being kind of co-opted by this very far right-wing kind of Christian fundamentalists, and it's like it's not really what the Republican Party used to be. I saw a video comparing, at the last Republican debate, people kept bringing up Ronald Reagan and how they emulated him. None of them are anything like Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan had common sense immigration policies. Ronald Reagan, wanted people to be able to come to the country legally. And nothing that they're saying has, it doesn't resemble Ronald Reagan at all. They've completely gone in a totally new direction.
Now, I have a question for both of you. What big, or well, I won't say big, well, it has big ramifications, but what mistakes, seeing this movement in the right side, the right-wing side develop over the last 20 years, what mistakes do you think we Democrats have made in handling this?
I think liberals as a whole need to be just a lot more stronger in our language. The fact that we've been having a climate change debate for Lord knows how long, it's not a debate, it's a fact.
Oh,
it's science.
And the fact that we entertain this as, oh well, we disagree on our, these are our differing opinions. It's not. It is an actual fact that people need to grow up and be adults and accept. And I think when we allow them to to question science and when we validate that by having debates on this topic, it's not a debatable topic. It's like debating whether or not 2 + 2 = 4. That's not something that you have a debate for.
Bravo.
What do you think about that, Jackie?
I ain't got nothing good to say about Ronald Reagan. So I was old enough to be working when he was president.
Okay.
I do understand that I would welcome a Reagan-style Republican to the Republican Party today, but they don't have any left. And I think that what happened, and I'm not a political scholar, mind you, but there was a time when the Southern Democrats were a thing in the day of Jimmy Carter.
Right.
And the way that the Republican Party co-opted that was with all this religious bullshit and this fight over abortion and who goes to church. And honestly, come on, half of them is screwing their interns. They keep going and getting indicted for it. It's not that they believe this, it's that it works as a political ploy. Yeah. And so the biggest problem to me with the Democrats is they have no balls. Why have they been bending over to the Tea Party for 8 years now? Are you kidding me? Oh, why? There's too many. They're too grassroots. They're too strong. So mobilize your own grassroots. Yeah. But the Democratic Party, almost as much as the Republican Party, has been hamstrung by its dependence on outside money. So they're careful what they say. They don't want to break no eggs because they still need that money for the $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, obscene amount of money that it takes to run a political campaign. And that's so Bernie's point of getting money out of politics fixes a lot of that. But I think at this point, the stuff that started as talking points during the Carter era, abortion, because that was around when, abortion was already legal in New York before Roe v. Wade, but Roe v. Wade finalized it, and it was only after that it became a national talking point for Republicans, and it didn't get much traction at first, because women didn't want to hear it. I mean, there were women still at that time, or when I was young, that their cousins, their mothers, their sisters had died from back alley abortions. My mother-in-law died from a back alley abortion, and was raised as an orphan in the house of a stranger, her and her sister, because her mother was dead and, she was older. There were no single fathers then.
Right.
Nobody really wants to go back to the era of that, but it's become an effective talking point only because the Democrats have been willing to cave. The Democrats don't. It's like grow a pair. Hello? Look at Elizabeth Warren. Look at her. She has a pair. Where is everybody else's pair? Alan Grayson had a pair when he talked about the Republicans' so-called health care program. And he lost his seat because of it. But yet he woke a lot of people up. So be willing, Democrats, to lose your seat for the sake of the truth. That's how Bernie operates. And that's why there are hundreds, perhaps thousands, I don't have all the numbers, but there are many hundreds of us every day in the streets with flyers that we print on our own little stupid printers at home, talking to strangers about Bernie because we believe in his truth and his clarity and his record, his uncompromising record, his non-flip-flopping record, his balls, his balls. Where's the balls of the rest of the Democratic Party? Is it only Bernie and Elizabeth? Come on, the rest of you.
Yeah.
I'm going to call on you, Chuck Schumer. You've been my senator for a lot of years. What have you done for me lately? Nothing. Hello.
What about the rest of the Democratic contingent, congressional contingent? What do we got here?
Well, we got Cuomo, but we want to talk about him.
Okay.
Corruption is corruption is corruption. That's all we have to say about Cuomo.
Okay. What about Charlie Rangel?
Oh, I'm in his district.
Yeah, me
And I
too.
just watched what he did to Marisol Alcantara, and I got to say, Rangel, you have really learned how to play corruption like a fine orchestral instrument.
Well, I will tell you, the first day that I think I was the first person under the age of 20 to shake Charlie's hand under the age of 15, come to think of it, when he got elected. He came right over to St. Thomas the Apostle. After that, I think it was a special election. After he got the seat from Adam Clayton Powell. And I've been watching him ever since. I have a great deal of respect for Charlie Rangel because he's a fellow veteran. But I find him and most of the Democratic contingent, I don't see in most cases the same type of fire, which also brings me to another point. What do you think about the way that, what's her name, Debbie Wasserman has been running? What is it, the congressional?
The DNC.
DNC, yeah. What do you think about
that? Or
that?
shall I?
You should, yeah.
As some of you may know, October 9th, which was last Friday, I don't know when you're going to see this show, but for us, it was yesterday. So that was the last day that you could change parties in New York State in order to be eligible to vote in the primary the following year. So October 9th is your deadline, which was not advertised by the government, before you could vote on April 16th. We're talking 6 months, people. There is no other state in the country that is anywhere near this. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz has very deliberately and in the face of immense criticism pushed the debates and lessened it. We had 20 debates by this time in 2008. And now we've had none. And the first one is Tuesday. And why is it Tuesday? Because it's after the date for the party change. And she's scared. And she's trying to suck up to her best friend Hillary in hopes of maybe getting some position in a future administration. Debbie, just give it up. You're done. You're toast. Because the whole world has seen what you've done. You're not even good at being corrupt. Because it's so blatant. The debate is Tuesday night, and if you're seeing this before October 13th, Tuesday night, CNN, they're streaming it free online, or you can watch it if you've got your cable subscription, or you can watch it at one of 3,600 debate watch parties already organized throughout the country by Bernie Sanders supporters. And you know what? People, you like Hillary? Watch the debates. Listen to it with an open mind. I will. If Hillary says something good, I'm willing to hear it. But I need you guys to hear what Bernie is saying, because Bernie, unlike Hillary, does not go back on his word.
Now, I've been finding it very, let's just say, problematic, because I'm interested in becoming a delegate for Bernie from New York. But I can't seem, now I'm a member of a Democratic club here in Manhattan, and we're supposed to be the most progressive club in New York City. And so far, I've been told that my club has nothing to do with who gets appointed or elected. I'm trying to find out which one to be a delegate to the convention. And I'm trying to find that out. Now, I have to admit, in the interest of fairness, truth, and transparency, that the campaign office of Bernie in Vermont has not really been that forthcoming. I don't know if it's because it's basically just staffed with a bunch of volunteers.
Forthcoming about what?
Big one?
Forthcoming about what? About the delegate process?
Yeah, about the delegate
Because
process.
they got nothing to do with it. It's all like in New York. I can't speak for other states, but I can speak to my home state, my
Okay,
home
go
city.
ahead.
In New York, it's all the Democratic machine determines it. It is not, the campaign is not determining anything about delegates. It's
Okay.
the machine already in place in the state. And unfortunately, here in New York, progressive means Hillary, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
so the machine has
Yeah.
like anointed Hillary, and it's going to take a tremendous effort
Okay.
on behalf of the progressive members of the Democratic Party to turn that machine around and show them how irrelevant they become.
Now let's because I'm gonna want you to say that again. So you're saying the reason that every time I try to find out what I need to do to become a delegate for Bernie Sanders, I feel like I'm punching a pillow or trying to grab hold of a cloud. You're saying, in your opinion, that this is because the Democratic Party, the Democratic machine, as it were, here in New York is just dedicated to Hillary and Hillary Clinton alone.
Yes, they are, and I can tell you why. And it's not necessarily that they like Hillary better. Who's got the money? Who's got the Clinton Foundation and the money? That's what the machine wants, is the money. It's not about values. It's about propagating the machine. It's about continuing the game. And the game is all about money in politics. So who's got more money? So of course the machine wants Hillary, because the machine needs to be greased and she can grease it.
Okay.
That's the story.
And to add on to what you were saying about the debates too, like this whole thing, like first of all about having it after the October 9th deadline to register as a Democrat, but also just the fact that they're having so few debates. The Republicans already had 2 debates. They're having way more debates than the Democrats are, and what possible Democratic reason is there for having fewer debates as
Because
opposed to
they
more debates?
know
Don't
that
you want more speech? But
Bernie's
exactly
going to
it.
wipe the floor with her. We only really need one
Right.
debate that everybody sees.
Yeah.
Because, Hillary has nothing but talking points.
that's exactly
Bernie
the
has
reason.
passion and conviction
Yeah.
and ideas. And she has what the pollsters tell her to say.
Yeah, and I think it's obvious. I think the reason why they're having fewer debates is because they know Bernie Sanders is going to do really well during the debates. And how sad is that?
Now, do you think, because we're supposed to be Democrats and we're supposed to be the fighters for truth, justice, open government, la la la, do you think that this is the proper way to select who the party's nominee is for president?
No.
Okay, do you think that that's basically the feeling of the base of the grassroots here in New York?
Absolutely. What we would like to see, I can tell you right now, and Governor Cuomo, I think you can make this happen. There's only 11 states with closed primaries. New York is one of them. And so that's 11 out of 50. So the majority, we're talking backwater states have open primaries. Why not New York? All this nonsense about the deadline and all the manipulations of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, if we had open primaries in New York, and open primaries mean you don't have to be a member of the party. The primaries are on one day, and you go, and all the names are there, and you vote for the names that you want. Some states you could vote for more than one, or they take the best of 3. There's different combinations, but any combination would be better than closed primaries, particularly in a city and a town like New York. So if we could make the New York primary open just for 2016, I challenge any of you members of the machine that secretly, and I'm talking to you also, de Blasio, any of you members of the machine that really are Sanders supporters, that can effectuate some change at a higher level, that can push Cuomo, the Board of Elections, to make this resolution for 2016 one time for an open presidential primary, go get busy and do it. That is what the people want. That's what we're asking for, and that's the way we're going to get a fairly elected president. Now, we also got to get rid of the Electoral College, but that's probably a conversation for
right.
another day.
That's for another
day.
show. That's for another
For the
show.
primaries, give us an open
Yeah.
primary. It's not too much to ask. Most states have it. Why don't we have it?
Yeah.
Okay, big guys,
Hello?
all you power brokers out there, this is the voice of the people, okay? Now, to be on the side of, play the devil's advocate, because I made a promise when I started doing this show that it would always be transparent, that it would always be honest. Back in 2008, before I was able to walk, when I was still in a wheelchair, I was a volunteer for Barack Obama. They refused to take me to Philadelphia. That's the headquarters we had right over here on 8th Avenue and 132nd Street. I couldn't go because they were feared that if some fighting or something, I wouldn't be able to hold my own, okay? I understand where they were coming from. Went, worked the phones, the office, the whole bit. Come 2012, I've had the surgery. They removed part of my spine. I'm able to stand on my own 2 feet. I had the pleasure of going to Philadelphia for Barack. I had the pleasure of going out to Ohio for Barack. Now, let's just say that I have a great deal of respect for the president, but I am not too pleased with the results of the exertions of thousands upon thousands of people and myself to get him in and keep him in the White House. I don't like the fact that we're still at war after 14 years. The longest, my God, are we trying to break the European record?
When are we not at war?
You know,
I mean,
Europe had the 100 Years War. Now we're 14, going over 14 years.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to stop all that.
We've been at
Yeah.
war your entire adult life, pretty
Yeah.
much, right?
Actually,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm also very concerned with the fact that as a person of color, I'm watching states, especially in the South, literally stop people from voting. Now, I remember Boston Irish Catholic, and I remember the Texas Cowboy. And when both of these guys were in the White House, they did, when they saw the rights of people of a different color being taken away, they stood up, they sent in hundreds of federal marshals, and when that didn't work, they sent in the 101st Airborne, and they got it done. Now, I'm trying to understand why we have the first person of color in the White House, and the right to vote is in jeopardy in dozens and dozens of states across this country. And I don't understand why nothing comparable is being done. Now, again, still playing the devil's advocate, what do you think Bernie Sanders would do if he were in the White House and this was going on?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think Bernie Sanders understands, which I think it took Barack Obama a little bit too long to understand, which is that you can't compromise with corporate America. You can't sit down and have a logical and civil discussion with billionaires whose only aim is to make billions and billions of more dollars. It's not we were talking about Republicans who have affairs and then they're anti-gay but they have gay affairs. It's not about ideals. It's about money to these people. So you're not going to sit down and compromise with them by having a logical discussion because logic doesn't even come into play here. So I think Bernie Sanders really understands that. And his plan is to have, this campaign, it's not just about electing him president. It really is about starting a political movement. It's about making our democracy more democratic and having people more involved in politics than they currently are, and having he understands that political leadership, it doesn't just mean, being the one to have these meetings with these other politicians, but real political leadership means bringing American citizens more into the process, making it easier for people to vote, making it easier for human beings to have an impact on the political process.
Well, I tell you, now, as a member of Black Lives Matter, I'll be straight up, talking transparency here. I had some problems when Black Lives Matter tried to catch Bernie off guard. I don't know if that was their original intent. I think that it was a question of the right church but the wrong pew. I don't like the way that Hillary Clinton handled her outdoor meeting with Black Lives Matter. And I'll tell you why. In the 90s, when we had the Clintons, basically, they're responsible for taking away a lot of the black and Latino males out of the so-called inner city. The leadership, all that potential, wound up in state and federal penitentiaries. They were the ones that were behind that. That's when we had this big burst of prison building throughout the country.
Well, don't say they. Say Bill, because Hillary was just a wife. So he was the one making the rules.
Okay.
She was the sidekick. So I don't want to lay that at her doorstep.
Yeah,
I will lay that at Bill Clinton's
Right.
doorstep, though. He absolutely, the 3 strikes, you're out, the mandatory minimum sentencing,
Yeah.
that's all in his bailiwick. And while Hillary may not have been responsible, she certainly wasn't raising her voice in protest.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying, because you have to remember now. Remember when they first went in there, they said that you're getting a bargain. You're getting 2 for 1.
Yeah.
So she kind of, that's why I say she kind of shares that coat a little bit. Because what they did in the community of color, it was like mowing down the wheat. These mandatory sentencing
and
laws.
the welfare reform. That was also Bill Clinton.
Now, what's that young lady's name? Right? Edelman, if I'm not mistaken. She was the one that did a lot of anti-poverty work with children with Hillary. And it's my understanding that they split the blanket, so to speak, that they broke apart because of that welfare reform thing that Bill basically did, buckling to the pressure of the Republican Party, to Newt Gingrich and those maniacs.
There's a name.
And that's something I have real problems with. And as far as what she did as the Secretary of State, this business about Libya, we had no strategic interest whatsoever in overthrowing Gaddafi. As a matter of fact, Gaddafi was coming more and more around to our how should I say, not maybe to our way of thinking, but to try and be a force for, how should we say it, normalcy in the Middle East.
Force in that region of the world.
And exactly. And for us to get involved in that, with the bombing and killing and droning of folks in Libya. Now, I remember when Gaddafi was literally trying to kill me. I was on board USS Nimitz, and I was there for the Gulf of Sidra incident. And that was under the Reagan administration. And I remember how the relationship was with the United States and Libya, and how much it changed over a period of time. And what we did, I think, with Hillary, we made the same mistake with Libya that Bush Jr. made in Iraq. Because you have to understand that when you go in to another part of the world and you overthrow a government, you're going to create a vacuum. And if you look at Libya now, Libya is in chaos. Barack Obama did not stand up to Hillary pushing for the invasion of Iraq. We know this. But yet he went along as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and did it. And I think that that was a very grave mistake, one which we will continue to pay for down through time.
We are going to continue to pay for the bombing of a Doctors Without Borders hospital for
Oh,
quite
please.
some time.
Oh, my God.
And that's not even an act of so-called war in the way that we describe it today. It's just another drone strike. Oops, a mistake. What was it? 18 doctors, 10 babies or something? I mean, I saw the photographs of, and and it wasn't even a drone. It was. They said at first it was a drone, but
No,
it was a
drone.
helicopter airstrike. It
was
was
a
like one of
gunship.
those,
I know
a
what it was,
gunship, right?
yeah.
So, like, how do you not? We're just the violence that we perpetrate, the violence that the United States perpetrates under our so-called white hat is astonishing. It's horrifying, and Bernie Sanders doesn't coat that. He voted against the Iraq War both times. What he says about the Middle East now, he's in favor of a two-state solution, which is the only solution for Palestine. Any solution that doesn't include a state for Palestine leaves us in the state of war that we have been in since I was born. I'm 58 years old. Israel was established shortly before I was born, and we have been at war on behalf of Israel in various ways my entire life. And without a two-state solution, it stays that way. Bernie knows this. He's a Jew for the two-state solution. Hello, people, let's wake up and mind our business. Because the other thing he says about the Middle East is that it's not our job to fix the problems. The most wealthy country in that area is Saudi Arabia. And many of the problems, yes, we've had our hands in it, but Saudi Arabia, they're no angels either.
Well,
and they're sitting on top of the biggest mountain of oil, as far as we know, in the world. Clean up your own backyard. Yes, we're there for support. We will provide support. But why is it our job to fix this? There's no reason we should be in Afghanistan for over a dozen years. There's no reason for any of this.
Well, I will tell you. Now, I can't. I've been to Israel about 3 or 4 times with the military, and God knows I've been to Saudi Arabia. God knows that that's not the most pleasant place in the world. And I think one of the big problems that we have, along with what's going on with what you say, is that the Saudi monarchy is like on the edge. And what really disturbs me as a, well, you're never a former military, but as a military person, is the amount of blood that we might have to wind up spending to keep some very obnoxious people in positions of power. And I think that this is wrong. I think that if a nation wants American support, we have to be very specific about what type of support that we're going to be giving out, number one. And number two, as Americans, we have certain standards, we have certain beliefs. Now, I wonder if most people know that the Saudis behead almost just as many, if not more, people as ISIS does. And again, and this I will say in support of Obama and the Democrats, he didn't create ISIS, okay? All that terror, all that madness was created when we went into Iraq. And we have to understand just what it is that we did. Now, the Republican Party, I can almost guarantee you, as a former military person, if one of those folks gets in there, you're going to war, okay?
They're saying it right now. They're not even putting no shade on it. They don't care.
You're going to war.
You know, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, go. Make those billions and don't pay no taxes. Awesome.
And see,
Business as usual.
Yeah, but see, here's another problem that I have with that. It's going to be guys like me, black, white, Latino, Islamic, because you got quite a few mothers in the military now. I know, I served with them. But that's who's going to be fighting these wars. Low-income people. And then what's going to happen eventually, you're not going to be able to do that. And then you're going to start talking about dusting off the books and bringing back the draft. You are going to have to. Because just
They
about-
should bring back the draft tomorrow, because the only reason that senators and whatnot are so free to vote for war is because there's no draft.
so true, yeah.
And their
Yeah.
kids are not going. Their kids
Yeah.
are all going to Harvard. They don't have to worry about it. You know
Right.
what? Bring back the draft with no exemptions.
Yeah.
The only exemption may be for pregnancy. If women are being drafted, you can't be drafted while you're pregnant. That's probably fair, right? Everybody else, no school exemptions, no bullshit. You know, the sibling
Yeah.
exemption should remain. Like if
Exactly.
your siblings already died over there, you don't have to go too. But that doesn't seem like
Yeah.
we're giving people very much, right?
And
Does
then,
it?
Right.
and then once you
Yeah.
once you reinstate the draft, see how many millions of people are going to march to be anti-war, and then
The only people
see
that
turn
now that are
around.
going into the military are, it's because they can't get a job at Walmart, and
Yeah.
that's the reason that the economy is being
I
squeezed.
got you. Okay. Well, let me just make this point quickly. Myself, I'm not a pacifist. We need a military. We have to have a foreign policy. But what we object to, and I think I can speak for everyone here, we object to a policy that always seems to fall upon the backs of the working class, the heaviest. And that is what Bernie is trying to stop.
Yeah.
That we are a country, we are a people with shared interests. And I think if somebody asked me, what do I think this new so-called Republican Party, what is the greatest harm that they have done to this country? I think the greatest harm that they have done to the United States, if they have worked steadily to destroy the idea that we are one nation of one people, different people, yes, but that we all have the same goal, and that is to make this country a better place to live in. Now, I think that one of the greatest harms we as Democrats have done is that we have not made this issue more apparent to the public at large. We have slept through a lot of things. We have let a lot of things pass us by, and we have to stop doing that. And that's why you see this dramatic surge towards Bernie. Jackie, before we wrap up, what do you think about that? What do you think about
I
the
agree
surge?
100% that this is why we're seeing a surge toward Bernie, and there's also 100 other reasons. He's on the right side of all of the issues. Because he's for the middle class, the working class, the student.
Right.
He's for the people that are not billionaires. Is that you? It's me. If it's you, check out Bernie.
Yeah.
Lori, what do you got to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with what you both said, and I just think that it's time to start fighting apathy. I think a lot of people
There you
believe
go.
that just because things are the way they are, that means that's the way that they're supposed to be. And Bernie Sanders is the one standing up saying, no, this, the status quo, it's not normal. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
He's
we
saying
can change it. Yeah.
Enough is
Yeah.
enough,
Yes,
right?
enough.
Is enough.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, and all you power brokers out there, here you have it. Maybe not as articulate as you would like, but
Oh,
it's real
you're articulate
and
enough.
it's true. This is the voice of the people here in New York City, and I dare say for most of New York State. We're supporting Bernie Sanders for President of the United States. The question you have to ask yourself, why aren't you? This is Bob Gumbs of Concerning Forum with Jackie and Lori, and we want to thank you for your time. Have a great day, and good luck to you.